If betrayal had a sound, it would be the sound of champagne glasses breaking in slow motion. And if heartbreak had a facet, was hers, smiling sweetly while kissing another woman right in front of me. That was the night my world shattered at a company party that I had planned for weeks. But it was also the night I met Clara, the woman who would piece my heart back together in the most unexpected way. I used to believe love was something you built carefully like a bridge. Solid, symmetrical, dependable. What I didn't know was how quickly it could burn to ashes with just one careless spark. The ballroom at the Langmore Hotel was a glittering sea of champagne and laughter. I had organized everything: the catering, the lighting, even the music playlist that was supposed to end the night on a romantic note. I wanted everything perfect for Ava, my girlfriend of 3 years. She was the creative director, the star of the agency, and everyone adored her. Her laughter, her ideas, her charm. I adored her too, maybe too much. But as I stood by the dessert table, watching her lips on someone else's under the golden glow of the chandelier, all I could think was how ironic it was that I had planned this whole damn party just to witness my own humiliation. I didn't cry. Not there. Not then. Instead, I smiled a broken, bitter curve of my lips and walked out into the cold night air. The sound of the city swallowed me, and for a moment I felt nothing. That's when I heard a voice behind me. "Hey, you shouldn't be out here alone." I turned around, half expecting it to be Ava. It wasn't. It was Clara, Ava's best friend, the woman I'd seen at countless dinners, the one with quiet eyes and a gentle laugh. She had always been there in the background, never intruding, always observing. Tonight, though, she looked different. Her usually soft demeanor carried something sharper, more protective. She held out her coat toward me. "You're freezing," she said simply. "I'm fine," I lied, clutching my own arms tighter. She didn't argue. She just stepped closer and draped the coat around me anyway. The scent of her perfume, jasmine and something faintly woody, wrapped around me like a memory I hadn't lived yet. "Don't let her ruin you," she whispered. I looked at her, then really looked. The sadness in her eyes mirrored mine. And before I could stop myself, I asked, "You knew?" She hesitated. The silence between us said enough. "I tried to tell her she was being stupid," Clara admitted softly. "I didn't think she'd do it in public." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Well, she did. Front row seat for everyone." Her jaw tightened. "She doesn't deserve you." For the first time that night, I felt something break, something tight in my chest loosening. Clara wasn't just saying it to comfort me. She meant it. The next morning, I woke up in my apartment surrounded by silence. The kind that felt too heavy, too clean, like the aftermath of a storm. Ava had texted me a long, incoherent apology full of excuses about being drunk, about not meaning it, about us being in a rough patch. I deleted it without replying. Hours later, there was a knock on my door. Clara stood there holding a paper cup of coffee. "I figured you hadn't eaten," she said. "You didn't have to." "I know. But I wanted to." She sat on my couch like she'd done it 100 times before. The air between us felt easy, surprisingly. I didn't know it yet, but that morning marked the quiet beginning of something that would change both of us. Over the next few days, Clara became my shadow, but not in an intrusive way. She checked in without asking too many questions, sent me playlists, little notes of encouragement. Sometimes she'd stop by after work just to sit with me in silence. One night, she brought takeout and a bottle of wine. "To the end of toxic relationships," she toasted. I raised my glass. "And to new beginnings?" Her smile was small but real. "Maybe." We laughed, and for the first time in weeks, it didn't feel forced. The more time I spent with Clara, the more I began to notice the details about her I'd somehow missed before: the way she always tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, the faint scar on her wrist she never talked about, the way her laughter always started quietly before spilling out like sunlight. One evening, as we sat watching the rain from my balcony, I found myself asking the question that had been haunting me since that night at the party. "Why did you defend me?" She looked at me surprised. "Because you deserve to be defended." "No, I mean, why do you care so much?" Her eyes softened. "Maybe because I've cared for a long time." My breath caught. The rain grew heavier, but the space between us felt charged, alive. "Clara," I whispered. She didn't say anything. She just leaned forward and kissed me. It wasn't a desperate kiss. It wasn't meant to fill the void Ava had left. It was something quieter, something that felt like home. When she pulled away, her voice was trembling. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have, but I didn't let her finish. I kissed her back. That night everything changed. And yet, it felt like it had always been meant to happen. We fell asleep tangled in each other's arms, the city lights flickering against our skin like a secret. For the first time in years, I didn't dream about Ava. I dreamed about Clara, her laughter, her warmth, her quiet strength. I woke up before sunrise watching her sleep beside me and thought, maybe this is what love is supposed to feel like. But happiness, I would soon learn, comes with its own price. Because when Ava found out, when she saw us together, everything we'd built began to crumble before it could even take root. If heartbreak had rules, I was breaking every single one of them. You're not supposed to fall for your ex's best friend. You're not supposed to crave the sound of her voice at midnight, or smile when she texts you good morning. But love doesn't follow rules, it rewrites them. And that's exactly what Clara was doing to me. For a few weeks, things felt fragile but good. We were both cautious, almost pretending that what had happened that night, the kiss, the tenderness, was just a slip of emotion, a byproduct of heartbreak and comfort. But the truth sat quietly between us like a secret waiting to be acknowledged. We didn't talk about Ava. We didn't talk about labels. We just existed in this strange, beautiful space that felt too delicate to define. Until Ava showed up at my door. It was a Saturday morning. The kind of morning when the city feels half awake. Coffee brewing in every apartment. Sunlight stretching lazily through the curtains. Clara was still in bed. Her hair a soft mess across my pillow, her breathing steady. The knock was sharp, impatient. I froze. She stirred slightly, blinking. Who's that? I already knew. When I opened the door, there she was, Ava, with her perfect hair, her perfect outfit, her not-so-perfect expression of guilt and anger. We need to talk, she said flatly. I glanced back at the bedroom, then stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. Now's not a good time. Are you serious? You've been avoiding me for weeks. That's the point. Her eyes darted to the half-open door, her tone turning sharp. She's here, isn't she? I didn't answer. Her jaw tightened. You're unbelievable. I almost laughed at that. I'm unbelievable? Ava, you cheated on me in front of our entire team. She flinched. I made a mistake. I was drunk. I stopped. You didn't trip and fall into someone's lips, Ava. You made a choice. She stared at me, her voice trembling. And so did you. I didn't expect the guilt to sting. But it did. Maybe because she wasn't entirely wrong. Maybe because some part of me still remembered the good days, the early mornings with shared coffee, the inside jokes, the years we built together before everything fell apart. But then I thought about Clara, about how she held me when I couldn't even hold myself together. And the guilt faded into something else, resolve. I didn't choose her to hurt you, I said quietly. I chose her because she made me feel safe again. Ava's expression faltered. For a moment she looked small, lost. She was my best friend, she whispered. I know, I said, my voice soft. And you lost both of us the night you stopped being honest. When I went back inside, Clara was sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing one of my shirts. I heard everything, she said. I sat beside her. I'm sorry. I should have told you she might come. She shook her head. No, I should have known this would happen. I looked at her then, the sadness behind her calm. You're not the reason she and I ended. You're the reason I survived it. Her eyes glistened. You can say that now, but Ava's not done. She's not the type to let go quietly. She was right. I just didn't realize how right until Monday morning. At the agency, whispers followed me like shadows. The office buzzed with subtle glances, half smiles, murmured gossip. Ava had clearly started spinning her version of the story. I could handle the rumors. I could handle the pitying looks. What hurt was seeing Clara across the office, forced to pretend nothing was happening, to keep a professional distance even when her eyes said everything we couldn't say out loud. During lunch, I found her sitting alone in one of the break rooms, scrolling her phone. You okay? I asked quietly. She looked up and smiled faintly. Define okay. I sat beside her, lowering my voice. If this gets too messy, you can walk away. I'll understand. She laughed softly. You really don't get it, do you? Get what? That I don't want to walk away. Not from you. It was such a simple thing to say, but it made my chest ache in that warm, terrifying way love does when it's real. Before I could answer, Ava walked in. The air froze. She glanced between us, her expression unreadable. Oh good, both of you in one place. Saves me the trouble. Not now, Ava, I said. But she ignored me, crossing her arms. You know, people are starting to ask questions about how fast you two got close. Maybe because we're adults and we're allowed to have friends, Clara replied evenly. Friends, Ava repeated, her tone laced with venom. That what you're calling it? Clara stood up. If you have something to say, just say it. Ava smiled, a cold, brittle thing. Fine. You're sleeping with her, aren't you? The room went dead silent. I felt the heat rise in my face, anger and humiliation twisting inside me. That's none of your business. Ava stepped closer, her voice sharp. You think you can replace me with her? You don't even know what she's capable of. Clara's voice stayed calm, but I could see her hands trembling. What's that supposed to mean? Ava smirked. Maybe you should tell her about what happened 2 years ago, Clara. The real reason you left the Chicago branch. Clara froze. Ava, stop, I snapped. But Ava didn't stop. She leaned in, voice dripping with spite. Go on. Tell her how you almost got fired for sleeping with a client. How you ruined that campaign and ran away before the fallout. The silence that followed was deafening. Clara's eyes filled with tears, not of guilt, but of something deeper, older. She didn't say a word. She just walked out. I glared at Ava. You had no right. She was using you, Ava hissed. People like her don't change. No, Ava, I said, my voice trembling. You just can't stand the idea that someone else might love me better than you ever did. I found Clara outside, sitting on the steps of the building, her hands shaking as she lit a cigarette she didn't even seem to want. She's lying, I said, sitting beside her. She didn't look at me. She's not. Not entirely. I stayed quiet. She exhaled, her voice barely a whisper. It was years ago. I was in a bad place. I got close to someone I shouldn't have, someone who made promises they never meant to keep. Cost me everything. My job, my reputation. Ava was the only one who knew the full story. I thought she'd buried it. I reached for her hand. That doesn't define who you are now. Her voice broke. You don't get it. People hear something like that and that's all they see. I worked so hard to rebuild myself to be better. And now she's scared. I interrupted softly. Because she knows she lost you too. Clara turned to me then, her eyes red, her voice trembling. You should walk away from me. Before she drags you down with me. I shook my head. I'm not going anywhere. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Why? Because I don't care who you were. I care about who you are with me. She let out a shaky laugh that turned into a sob. I pulled her into my arms and she melted against me. All trembling breaths and quiet heartbreak. I'm so tired of losing people, she whispered. Then stop running, I said. Stay. She looked up at me, her eyes glassy, searching. And if I do? Then I'll fight for you, I promised. No matter what she says. The next few days were chaos. Ava went cold, professionally polite, personally venomous. The team was divided, and whispers about Clara's past spread like wildfire. HR got involved. Meetings were awkward. The air in the office felt poisoned. One night, after another long day of damage control, I came home to find Clara sitting on my couch, staring blankly at the TV. I handed in my resignation, she said without looking at me. My heart sank. You what? It's the only way this stops. If I go, she'll stop trying to destroy you. Clara, no. I can find another job. You shouldn't have to keep fighting my battles. I knelt in front of her, taking her hands. They're not just your battles anymore. She looked at me and for a moment I thought she might take it back. But instead she kissed me softly, slowly, like a goodbye she didn't want to say. When she pulled away, tears clung to her lashes. You deserve peace. So do you, I whispered. She smiled sadly. Maybe someday. She left the next morning. Her desk was empty by the time I got to work. The only thing she left behind was a small note on my keyboard. Don't forget to eat breakfast. And don't let her make you bitter. Clara, I sat there staring at it, feeling the hollow ache of something unfinished. For the first time since the night of the party, I cried. Not for Ava. Not for what we'd lost. But for what I wasn't ready to lose her. The first week without Clara felt like living in an echo. Everything reminded me of her: the coffee cup she used, the playlist she'd sent me, even the scent of her perfume lingering on the coat she once draped over my shoulders that night outside the hotel. It was everywhere, woven into the silence she'd left behind. Ava went back to pretending she was untouchable. The office moved on, gossip fading into the next scandal, as it always did. But I couldn't. Not when the one person who made me feel like I could breathe again had disappeared just to protect me. I wanted to hate her for leaving. I tried. But love doesn't disappear because it's inconvenient, it lingers, like light that refuses to go out. And somewhere in the city, I knew she was still there, trying to rebuild herself all over again. 3 months passed. The agency had changed. So had I. I worked in silence, no longer trying to impress anyone. Ava had been promoted to a new project in Chicago, and though she left with a strained good luck, I could tell she was still bitter. Sometimes I wondered if she regretted everything. Sometimes I hoped she did. But mostly I just wished her gone from my thoughts entirely. Then one late Friday night, while organizing campaign drafts at my desk, my phone buzzed. A message. From Clara. Hey, I know it's late, but there's something I need to give you. My heart nearly stopped. I found her waiting at a small cafe on the corner of 5th and Monroe, the kind of place that stayed open past midnight, where the smell of coffee mixed with the faint sweetness of rain-soaked streets. She looked different, stronger somehow. Her hair was shorter, and she wore a beige coat that made her look both older and softer. When she saw me, she smiled, a little unsure but real. Hey, she said. Hey. We stood there for a second, awkward in that too familiar way people do when they've been through too much together. She slid a small envelope across the table. I wanted to return this. Inside was the note I'd written her the night she left, a stupid little line I'd scribbled on a post-it and stuck in her bag. You don't have to be strong all the time. Let someone hold you for once. I looked up. You kept it. I did, she said quietly. It got me through a lot of nights when I wanted to quit everything again. Something inside me cracked open. Clara. She shook her head. I didn't ask you here to talk about the past. I just wanted to see you. One last time, maybe. Last time. I got a job offer. In Seattle. The words hit harder than I expected. When? I leave next week. The air between us went still. That's great, I said, trying to sound supportive. You deserve that. Her eyes softened. You don't have to pretend you're happy for me. I am happy for you, I said, and meant it. I just wish it didn't mean saying goodbye again. She looked at me for a long moment before whispering, You were the first person in a long time who made me feel like I wasn't just surviving. I swallowed hard. You were the first person who made me feel seen. Neither of us spoke after that. Words felt small compared to everything that hung between us, the history, the longing, the pain, and the quiet love that had never truly gone away. Outside, the rain had started again. Clara stood up, hesitating. I should go. I followed her out, my heart pounding. The streetlights shimmered against the wet pavement, and for a moment, the world looked like a reflection of itself, blurry, trembling but still beautiful. Wait, I said, reaching out. She stopped. I don't want this to be goodbye, I said. Not like this. Her expression broke, a mix of love and fear. Then what do you want it to be? I want you to stay. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. You know I can't. Then let me come with you. That startled her. What? I'm serious, I said. I don't care where we are, my voice faltered. I'm tired of watching love walk away. She let out a shaky laugh through her tears. You'd really do that? Leave everything behind? I stepped closer. You once told me not to let Ava make me bitter. Maybe this is how I prove it. Her hand trembled in mine. You're insane. Probably. For a long moment, she searched my face as if trying to decide whether to believe me. Then slowly she smiled. You haven't changed, she whispered. Maybe not, I said. But I'm done being afraid to choose what makes me happy. And just like that, she pulled me into her arms. The rain fell harder, soaking through our coats, but neither of us moved. We kissed slowly, desperately, as though time itself had stopped just to give us this one perfect moment. People hurried past under umbrellas, car lights streaking through the mist, but we didn't care. When we finally broke apart, breathless and trembling, she whispered, "Okay. Come with me." Seattle was colder than New York, softer somehow. We found a small apartment overlooking the Sound, where the mornings smelled like salt and coffee, and the nights were quiet enough to hear the wind through the windows. At first, it felt like starting over, like learning each other all over again. Clara took the job at a design firm. I worked remotely for a new agency, and for once life wasn't about survival or damage control. It was about living. Sometimes we fought about work, about dishes, about stupid things, but it never lasted long. Because no matter how loud the storms got, I always knew we'd find our way back. And one night, months later, as we sat on the couch watching the lights flicker across the bay, Clara said something that made my chest ache all over again. "You know what I realized?" "What?" "That loving you isn't the hardest thing I've ever done." She looked at me and smiled softly. "It's the easiest." I laughed quietly, tears in my eyes. "That's good. Because I'm not planning on making it hard anytime soon." She leaned in, resting her forehead against mine. "Promise." "I promise." The following summer, we went back to New York for a short visit. It felt strange walking into the same streets where everything had fallen apart, and yet, it no longer hurt the same way. The ghosts were still there, but they'd lost their power. We ran into Ava once. It wasn't planned. She was coming out of a restaurant downtown, looking older, quieter. She stopped when she saw us. For a heartbeat, the three of us just stood there, the weight of everything unsaid hanging in the air. Then Ava nodded. "You look happy," she said. "I am," I answered. She smiled faintly, almost sadly. "Good. You deserve that." And just like that, she walked away. No more bitterness. No more poison. Just closure. Clara reached for my hand. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, exhaling slowly. "I think I finally am." That night, back in our hotel room, I watched Clara sleep, the soft rise and fall of her chest, the faint curve of her lips, the way her hand always reached out toward me even in her dreams. And I realized something simple, something I wish I'd known all along. Love doesn't always arrive wrapped in fireworks and promises. Sometimes it comes quietly through broken hearts, through second chances, through the courage to stay when it would be easier to leave. It finds you when you least expect it. Sometimes it finds you in the person standing beside you in the rain, holding out a coat and whispering, "Don't let her ruin you." Years later, when people ask how we met, Clara always laughs and says, "At a company party that went terribly wrong." And I always add, "Yeah, but it ended perfectly right." Because that's what it was: messy, painful, imperfect, but real. And in the end, that's all I ever wanted. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.